There we go. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, and it's weird. I mean, the technology today has been a little bit finicky. That's why I was running a little bit behind. But thank you, Dr. Sarah, for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for watching another live stream on my Bow Wow Bill page, YouTube channel. And if you guys aren't subscribed over at YouTube, Facebook has started to remove these after a while. So we have, I'm approaching 300 of these live streams, and but they're all on YouTube. So make sure you guys subscribe over there. If you like what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put a link to my Patreon down below, patreon.com/bowwowbills in the comments here. And I am joined. Well, first off, I'm so excited about this because I feel like it was a little bit of serendipity with one of your employees. Isn't that wild?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So Dr. Sarah is local to me. I'm in the Seattle area, and her business is up here in the Seattle area. But she has, we'll talk about this, other companies that do the same thing that Dr. Sarah does in your area, and we'll show you how you can access that information to find somebody, a professional that can help you with some end-of-life care for your dog, and that's going to be the topic today. And so I'm going to go ahead and share this on my personal page. And while I do that, do you want to give a quick introduction, Sarah, and tell everybody who you are?
Sure.
And
my name's Sara Hopkins, and I'm a veterinarian. I live in the Edmonds area, and about 12 and a half years ago, I decided to quit my job at a general practice. I was just at a general veterinary practice in Bellevue for about 11 years. And I had developed a real interest in end-of-life care for pets. And back then, it was still a very new, young field. And I came home and I told my husband I wanted to quit my job and start a mobile practice on end-of-life care. And he thought I was a little bit crazy, but he was like, okay, let's try it. And I thought, well, the worst thing that would happen is that I fail and that I go back and find another job working as a veterinarian. And what I found was it is a very needed service for people to at least have the option to have services in home and to have more in-depth discussion on end-of-life care for pets. So that was about 12 and a half years ago, like I said, and we now have quite a large practice, probably about 18 people. And we also have an aftercare center in Mount Lake Terrace where we do our own cremation for the pets that we help. And we do that through water cremation. So it's kind of a full service end-of-life care practice. So we just feel so strongly about just treating every pet with respect and compassion and love and gentleness. And so we kind of facilitate all of the sad stuff.
yeah, thank God for you.
Oh.
Thank you for what you do. I mean, I'm just so thankful that there's someone like you out in the world, that.
And I tell you, Bill, I mean, all of our doctors who we have here, we actually sadly just had to, one of our part-time doctors just had to retire early because of some health reasons, but all of our doctors love what they do. And one of our vets kind of calls us the misfits of the veterinary profession because we deal with, death all day long. But it is truly such an honor and a privilege to be a part of that process with people and support them and guide them. I think we've just all found our calling and what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Especially in the West, we belong to a very death phobic culture, right? And I have to remind people that the number one cause of death is being born.
Well put.
Yeah, it's something that we're all going to deal with, and I counsel my clients. I've been doing this since 2007 professionally. And some of my clients, I'm on the third generation, maybe even fourth on one of my families that I'm thinking about. And I think it's an honor and a privilege to sit with them in that space, and that's all I can do is sometimes just sit and cry with them
Right.
and mourn with them and tell them this sucks. This is there's
Exactly.
nothing I could say to make this better. Um, and a lot of times people they have a hard time with that discomfort.
They do. They do. And like you said, I think we have a very death phobic culture in general. And it's as a medical professional, and I think as veterinarians and also as human medical providers, our urge is to always cure and make them better and try one more thing and help the pet as much as we can, which is fantastic. But at some point, we need to really shift our focus and be supportive of the client and give them all of our options, including end of life care and euthanasia. Almost give them permission that they don't have to do a whole bunch of testing, or they don't have to do what's not sitting right with them, that we can talk about death early on and just present it as something to consider. So it's really about also trying to bring education in and uh, you know earlier on and give people options for what they can do.
Yeah, and a lot of times if it doesn't fix it, we're prolonging agony, and we have to have that conversation as well. Is this
Exactly.
going to make them better, or are we just going to have to do this treatment again and again and again? And I get it. People don't want to let go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I tell people one of the things that I say to them is when we do let go, then we have an opportunity to celebrate the whole life,
Hmm.
right? Instead of something that we preferred, like an instance during that life that we preferred. Now we can celebrate them as a whole,
Right.
and yeah, and people don't realize that it is prolonging agony. It is sometimes. And I know in human world, I've heard this. There's a gentleman in the human world that works in the palliative care. And what is palliative care? What is hospice? Let's start there.
Those are good questions, and the really million-dollar questions, because it is very confusing, and they can be interchangeable up to a point. So palliative care is basically comfort care, but we can do that at any stage of life. So if you have a 2-year-old Great Dane who needs a ACL surgery, we're doing palliative care to make him comfortable until he is back to normal function.
Okay.
Hospice care, we look at that is palliative care, but that is more focused at the end of the being's life. I think a lot of times in human hospice, it's a very short time period. And that's where a lot of people think, I think mistakenly, about hospice care for pets, because they think, well, my pet's not ready to die in 3 days. So we're trying to kind of shift the terminology a bit from hospice care to more like comfort care. Like we want to make them comfortable. We
Yes.
want to make the family comfortable, and also provide resources. Like in a true hospice model, you have the doctor or veterinarian, but then you also have the nurses or the vet techs, and you have, spiritual guidance if that's something that the family wants. So, obviously we don't have all of those folks with our practice, but just giving people the support and the resources, just let them know that they're out there. People don't know what they don't know. And
Yes.
so if we can help them just know what's available to them, I think that's really important. That was kind of a deviation from the hospice palliative care question. But basically, like we practice both, because we are focused more at end of life, but we do the palliative care, the comfort care, for families who wish to have those types of consultations.
And a lot of times, well, in comfort care, what does that mean at end of life? I think that it might mean something different. That if we're caring for a 2-year-old Great Dane that just
Mhm.
had surgery versus some a dog that is at the end of the life. Is that true? Would you say?
100% true, because with the, with the 2-year-old Great Dane, we're saying, okay, here's your medication, here's your physical therapy plan, here's your return back to normal exercise plan, kind of all of that. We may have some of that, but we also do, because we go into the home. What's so fantastic is that we can also assess the environment. So, I
Okay.
will say, why don't we try raising the food bowl? Why don't we try putting down some carpet runners? Why don't we put some, grips on the stairs? That's going to make your dog so much more comfortable going up and down the stairs. So we can kind of do an environmental assessment. A lot of it, though, really is about quality of life, quality of life assessments. People will say, well, I don't know if he's in pain. So we'll come in and say, let's talk about pain in dogs. How do you know if your dog is in pain? Because they're not going to say, hey, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
And the other thing with dogs being pack animals, they're really good at hiding things.
Yes.
They, inherently they don't want to say like, hey, I'm injured or I'm ill, I'm the weak one in my pack. So they really are good about hiding things. So we'll look at like ear position. We want ears to be up and perky and relaxed. And a lot of dogs, when they're not comfortable, those ears start to go down, and they'll start to go down and back. They may get a little bit of facial tension, kind of some squinting of the eyes, or the opposite. Sometimes we see the whites of the eyes, kind of this whale-eyed appearance, like they're like, I'm so tense because I'm uncomfortable, kind of face. A lot of panting. We'll see pacing. We'll see restlessness. Kind of that old dog getting up and down, or the old dog getting up and then just pacing and circling because it's uncomfortable for them to get into a down position. So they just kind of keep going until they're so tired, that they just kind of, okay, flop down. So really picking up on some of these cues on body language and just educating the family, like, this is what we're seeing, and maybe there's some things that we can do to help, and we can try all these things, and then let's reassess. Are we making an improvement in the dog's comfort level, by looking at some of these markers? And sometimes we'll go into a home and the people have literally tried everything, and their dog has a terminal illness, and they've seen all the specialists, and they've done everything that they possibly could. And sometimes it's just a really hard discussion to say, like, you have done everything and you've given him a wonderful life, and now we can give him a really beautiful, gentle, easy death. And it's okay to let him go. And, at that point, even looking at euthanasia as, almost like a treatment, like we are doing something to alleviate the suffering. We're doing something to make this pet feel better. A
Mm.
dog's quality of life, they don't measure it in duration. It's how are they feeling right there in that moment. And we
Yes.
want them to feel comfortable and secure and safe, and all of those things.
Yes. I think it's a gift,
Yes,
and that I can give them to end their suffering after everything that they've given us their whole life. And remember,
absolutely.
dogs, we talk about this, dogs are associative thinkers. They are, in a small part, linear thinkers. When they experience an environment over and over and schedule, they can kind of linearly think, but not like us, where we can literally time travel in our mind, right, to when we first met, or and
Right.
even to the future. Like, if I have an appointment later today, I can kind of project myself into the future. Where dogs, the way that they think, it's right now. And if they've been experiencing pain for quite a while, um, that's their whole world, and it's something that we
Exactly.
can free them from. So,
Exactly.
and you also look at, I'm sure, like remedies as far as like drugs, like
Yeah,
gabapentin, or
absolutely.
yep.
Absolutely. So pain medication, that is a really big part of what we do as well, is just, try to give some guidance on medications that could be useful for the dog.
Okay. And then how this is a question that comes up to me all the time. And a lot of times it's in my clients that maybe this is their first dog,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Look, she's getting old.
Mhm.
How do we know when it's time?" And so that's where it starts. It's kind of like a comfort care
Mhm.
evaluation, look at the quality of life. Now, do you have a questionnaire or anything on your website or
We do. I mean, we have what we do if somebody would like to set up a comfort care appointment, we send them a link for, a pretty in-depth question. Like, I want to know all sorts of things, from appetite to vomiting to, are they acting a little bit more aggressive at home where you wouldn't normally expect them to be aggressive? Sometimes some of those small cues can give us some good information. But the real thing is being there with the family and going over some quality of life scales. Really kind of asking some of the hard questions, like what makes them happy? Is he still doing that? How is he compared to a year ago? You can't tell somebody like, here's your 12-year-old dog. What were they like when they were 3 years old? Because they would be completely different, different activity levels, different dogs. But how much have they changed since last year? Can they still do things that they enjoy doing?
Mhm.
Um, I think what gets really hard for people, there's a couple of situations. I mean, it's all hard, but some of the situations that can be really challenging are, if we have a dog who has a terminal illness, like that's
Mm.
something that we can kind of grab onto and say, okay, your dog has lymphoma, and this is what I would expect, and this is the timeline that I would expect. And when we see these older dogs who don't have a terminal illness or something tangible, it's just kind of this combination of, oh, their mobility is hard, or they're blind, and they're not getting around as much, and he's not wanting to play ball, or kind of this whole combination of things that, like, one thing on its in itself wouldn't be necessarily life limiting, but you have this whole combination of ailments. And a lot of these dogs are just kind of like existing or lingering, right? Like they don't have things that are making them happy or bringing them joy. And they're uncomfortable, but they're not in distress. And I think those types of situations for people, like, how do you know? One thing that I often talk to people, like, we talk about, what's the line in the sand? Like, what's the line in the sand that you would say, okay, I feel good about, like, good, relatively speaking,
Yeah,
about making this
it's time.
right, that know that it's time to make this decision. And what I think happens with a lot of our senior dogs is it's not a line, it's more of a window. Like, it's an open window that any time within this open window, it is okay and kind and reasonable and a good idea to say goodbye. We don't want to be too early, but we also don't want to be too late.
Yeah.
And a lot of these dogs, just helping families kind of decide what does that window look like for their dog. And I would say more times than not, when we meet a family, like, the dog is in that window. We just need to have these conversations about, how do they recognize this window.
Yeah, and I think that let me share. Um I have your intake for the comfort care intake form. I'm scrolled down a little bit on it here, but I think that
Huh.
a lot of times I want oh, let me share this. There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the pharmacy and stuff, but, pet's condition, right?
Mhm.
When did you start noticing the concerns? Of course, medication, supplements. Oh, man, I got supplements. too. I don't know if you know about this, but this, and I don't get paid for this, but Atlas, my Dr. Ravi Iyer, I'll mention this later. But I
Oh,
tell you, doc, this is amazing
okay.
stuff. It's like Ayurvedic medicine. It's got the green lip mussel powder,
Oh,
sea cucumber powder, MSM, creatine, and it's won the joint supplement of the year for the last 2 years.
oh, no
Um,
kidding.
so it's amazing stuff, but we'll get into that. I'm just like, I saw supplements and then
Yeah.
immediately, and then I have some other products here, and he doesn't pay me. He's just a great friend, and I love his product. I've seen some remarkable results. And so, yeah, medications and supplements, pets eat, right? We're looking at the quality of food, homemade, canned, kibble. I love that. Appetite. I had a Bernese Mountain Dog that just stopped eating. It was not like her at all. And
Right.
we did an initial X-ray, but that was inconclusive. So then we did a CAT scan, and she had tumors everywhere. She had lipoma, and it just made sense now why she's not eating.
Right.
Water consumption, right? And talk to me about Cushing's. Like sometimes we'll see the water consumption go crazy,
Through the
right?
roof.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cushing's disease can be a tough disease, and that's often diagnosed in early or younger animals or middle-aged animals. But that can also be a quality of life disease when we are having a dog who is thirsty all the time and is maybe peeing in the house and is hungry all the time, and so there can be some things to navigate among some of those signs as well.
Yeah, incontinence is another,
Hmm.
right? And it could be because their intake is going through the roof, or they are losing bowel and bladder function because I have a dog right now with an arthritic spine.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and so that's how we knew exactly where the arthritis was. And then having years and years of scans of the x-rays that I can compare it to, I can see how and so she's on comfort care now. I'm keeping her
Oh,
comfortable on a daily regimen of anti-inflammatories, muscle relaxers, and gabapentin at night.
nice.
Yep, vomit, right? So vomit's water, bile, food, fur, balls, and include frequency. I mean, and that could be my particular audience is dogs, but we're also
Mhm.
talking about cats here.
Right, right. We do
Right.
see kitty cats too.
Yep, with the fur balls, that's what I'm assuming.
Hmm.
Um, and then people, I mean, sometimes just going through this questionnaire, Doc, I'm sure
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh my goodness,
Right,
I didn't realize that." Yes,
right.
right. And then we have frequency, accidents inside is a big one, and then bowels, right?
Mhm.
I tell people, just like in human beings, a bowel movement is like a progress report
Mhm.
about what's going inside the body, right? And so, right, and we have soft stool, hard stool, constipation, incontinence, and then going in the house as well, and then labored respiration,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, I mean, this is something I think just going through this intake form can kind of put their mind. I mean, it changes how they view the quality of life of their beloved animal, right?
And I think that that is a really big point is just helping people recognize some of these things. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know, and when the decline is so progressive over time, you may not be seeing any really big changes, but just thinking about some of these things and some of these categories, it really can kind of jostle people into reality.
Well, and as a somebody that trains dogs, sometimes I will get a novel behavior that has happened in this dog, and my first step is I want a senior panel done, and
Yes.
I want a veterinary exam on this dog because this question right now, is there any part of the body that they do not like being
Mhm,
touched,
mhm.
right? And that can be I mean, their arthritis, it could be something that's going on. And
Right.
so very important question. Dragging feet, limping, unable to jump up on cat tree.
There's the cats again, yeah. Not for the dogs. Well, I guess it could be for the dogs,
Yeah,
but
jumping up after the cat. But
yeah.
but well, and I've just brought out, we have these stairs for our couch, right? And
Yeah.
my dogs are allowed on the couch, but then I noticed that some dogs were not clearing it, and so we brought out the little steps there. Oh, right here, behavior changes.
Yes.
Showing aggressive to family members or other pets, showing confusion. Do dogs sundown?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Um, there is a syndrome called canine cognitive dysfunction, and it's kind of like a doggy Alzheimer's, and we can see sundowning.
Okay.
These dogs often will pace and pant in the evening hours and can't get them to settle down. People take them outside. They may act confused. They may have start having accidents inside, and it's like a little doggy dementia. And I think that is a disease that has a huge impact on the family's quality of life,
Yes.
right? Because and I've had a dog with, there you go, I've had a dog with cognitive dysfunction, and it's hard because there's nothing you can do to get them to calm down. Like they do their pacing and their panting and their pacing and their panting, and we'll try all sorts of medications, and you know it, it can be hit or miss. One thing though that I would like to say about the cognitive dysfunction is that it's also very important to make sure that it's not a response to pain, because a lot of those dogs, there can be similar signs between arthritis pain or other pain and then the cognitive dysfunction. So when I have patients who probably have the little doggy dementia, I always say, let's come up with a really good pain management plan, see how they are doing. And if we're still seeing a lot of these same signs, then we're leaning more towards doggy dementia. But we want to make sure that we are addressing any sort of underlying pain that could be contributing.
Yeah, and if that is the case, then it's pretty obvious, and
Right.
does it ever exacerbate the dementia?
I have not had that.
Okay.
That has not been my experience.
A Disha scale. I don't know what this Disha scale, let me see.
Yeah, there's Purina actually has, I think it's on their website. They have a whole graphic for the dishes scale, and it's kind of all this confusion and disturbances and sleep wake cycles and that kind of thing. Without going too far down a rabbit hole, there's a lot of work being looked into for like the gut brain axis and how those two are intertwined, and there are probiotics and prebiotics that are designed for um, calming benefits, really focusing on the gut brain axis.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff in the human world and the dog world as well, because once they realize, and I mean, in the human world, we've seen like autism,
Hmm.
and they do what's called fecal transplants, and I heard that they've even
Right.
started to do that in the dog
They
world too.
have. Hmm.
Isn't that wild?
It
And
is
it
wild.
and it's a deterioration of neurons, and the synapses between those neurons aren't able to fire as effectively, um, and just like you said, it leads to our quality of life too, because if a
Mhm.
dog's up all night long,
Right.
and and I can't make the decision for my clients. The only thing that I can do is just understand how the situation they're going through, and
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, call Dr. Sarah. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is somebody that, if as a professional, I think that we should have somebody in our area that does what you do. It's a great resource for hey, Bill and Dr. Hey, William.
Oh.
Yeah, we got people. William's got a podcast too, man. I'd love to.
Uh-uh.
And people are saying hi. Bow Wow. Somebody did a weird Bow Wow. Bill's 100% OG. So, but it just makes sense. It makes sense because people always ask me too, and we talk about this in the dog world with behavior, medications and whatnot. And I'm like, look, I'm a trainer. I'm not a veterinarian. Right. And you have to ask them these questions, but I can help you possibly with, some techniques that might alleviate or help teach the dog a better way to
Right.
respond. Right. But once it comes to, care on a medical level, then that's not my purview. But it would make sense that we have people that we can refer and also to discuss this stuff with. Right.
For sure.
Yeah, and then I've utilized you, but I want to talk to you about you as well, because we had this scheduled for a couple weeks ago, but I got a text from you. I mean, this has got a way. I mean, when we look at veterinarians, not just end of life care, what you do, but veterinarians as a whole, they have one of the highest suicide rates.
Yes, they do.
And I just want to check in with you. And I do that with my vets. I just like, man, how you doing? I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, but I also, how do you do this? How,
Well,
and yeah, let's talk about that.
well, I love that. I love that you recognize that and that you do put it out there, because I do think that I think there's a lot of factors that come into play, and I think it's also a very big conversation. So I don't want to go off the rails too much here, um, but I think as veterinarians we are perfectionists. It was hard to get into vet school, and so we needed to have those good grades, and we needed to have all this, and getting through vet school is hard. So, work real hard. And so I think as vets, we're just kind of a certain type of people, and we want to do good all the time. And sometimes we get cases where we just can't do good. And I'm talking more like in general practice, not so much end of life care.
Right.
But there are situations where we can't do good. And of course, like, these pets are their family, and there's a lot of emotions, and there can be a lot of blame, and it can just be a lot, for vets who want to do good, and that they're not perceived as doing good. And social media too, I think has really come into play, and that's a whole nother thing. But I will say, for end of life care, uh, what always my heart always breaks for the family, because I can see the sadness. I've been through euthanasia and losing pets, 11 times, I think, over the years. And it is hard. It is so hard. And so I feel very sad for that family. On the flip side of that, I get to witness the strongest bonds of love between pets and their people, right? Like, these people love their pets. They are their family. And so to be able to really see this love is such an honor and such a privilege. And when I started this, my husband's like, "Oh my God, how can you be doing this all day?" And I'm like, I would choose doing this all day over ear infections and hot spots and, vomiting that I can't figure out. Like, I think, like, the vets who are in general practice and oh my gosh, and emergency medicine.
Oh,
I
wow,
mean,
yeah.
they are the ones I look up to. Like I have such a fantastic job and career. Like I will never do anything other than what I'm doing. And if I can't be doing end of life care, I'm not going to be a veterinarian. Like that is how fulfilling this is. Um, so it's easy for me to go home and have my sadness for the families that I helped, but also I'm able to compartmentalize that a little
Yes.
bit, for better or for worse, and then focus on the pets. Like these are the pets that, no other veterinarian could help them, but I could help them. And I gave them a beautiful, gentle, easy death, so nobody else was able to do that except for us. And that feels really fantastic.
And then when you walk in, what does that look like? I mean, I'm sure that there are some commonalities, but I'm also sure that there are some outliers as far as the environments that you walk into.
Yeah, so it's and I've seen everything. Um I've seen celebrations. One of my first appointments early on, when it was just me, it was the evening appointment, and I came home, and my husband's like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I'm like, "I just had the best euthanasia ever." And he's like,
Wow.
"What?" And I said, "It was a beautiful summer day, and there was like 12 people there, family, and we're in the backyard, and there were flowers, and they were doing like shots of vodka, like celebrating this old dog's life. Like it was so beautiful." It's like that's how we should really try to look at death. And I know much easier said than done.
Yes.
But when I see the families who are really celebrating their pet's life, that's always that much more fulfilling. But we've seen, I mean, with little kids, big kids, huge families, a lot of religious ceremonies as well, which are beautiful. Um, but we have seen the gamut across every possible situation I think you could imagine.
I give my dogs whatever they want. So I'll cook up all night for them, and I'll
Yep.
just make them steaks and smoked sausages. I'll even give them a little chocolate because every
I helped a
every
family yesterday, and I walked in, I'm like, "Oh, how's he doing?" And we're feeding him chocolate peanut butter. And it's like,
yeah,
"Great."
yeah, you might as well taste chocolate.
Yeah.
And, and then afterwards now, well, first off, I always invite the kids to be there.
Yes. Yeah. I very much, if families will ask me what my thoughts are, I will always say, um, I'm all for honesty, even in the little kids. Um, and I think giving them the opportunity there. I've never had anybody say that they regret having their kids there. And I mean, obviously, it's a very personal choice with the parents, and I will respect any decision that parents make. But if they ask me, I typically will say, like, it's have them be a part of it if they feel that it is fitting.
Yeah, and then after my dogs pass, personally, I have a graveyard here,
Yeah.
right? And so I don't cremate them, but I bury them, and, I dig a hole. I get ready, I prepare,
Yeah.
and then after they've passed, I will put candles all around their body, and I just you never hear me cry as hard in my life as I cry in that moment, and while I'm digging that hole, I don't hold back. I'm glad that I live on acreage
Yeah.
because I can just let it out, but I do, and then I bury them, and they're with all their brothers and sisters back there. I don't even know how many dogs and cats I have back in my little cemetery here.
Oh.
Um, but you do so then after and one thing that I think is wonderful about coming to the home, um, first and foremost, my dogs, they're like, "Let's go in the car, let's
Mhm.
go." And then I pull into the vet's office and they're like shaking,
Yeah,
like, "Oh shit,
exactly.
like, what do you at 2, why'd you do that?" And it doesn't matter if we're there just to,
Mhm.
get flea medication or just a checkup or something. Like I mean, I think that they feel the anxiety. One of my dogs has had a C-section at this particular vet. Another dog had pretty invasive surgery, so I can see that there might be some
Right.
pretty significant trauma that is associated with that area. But just the smell, even dogs that have never been to the vet, they're like keyed up when I go there, and just kind of taking it all in. And so when I can bring the veterinarian to my house, it does a couple things. One, the emotional health of my dog is nice and calm.
Mhm.
They're where they have always been and love to be. And the second aspect of this is now my home has become hallowed territory or sacred space. And
Yes.
even in my field where so many dogs have run, my client said, "Can we sprinkle our dog's ashes in the
Oh,
field?" And I'm just like,
yeah.
"Absolutely." And then we have a little ceremony for that when we bring him out there and sprinkling. And I'm like, he's we have dogs that are part of this. It is a sacred space, a sacred time. And then the well-being, I think that benefits the dog as well to remain calm and to be in the place that they've been loved their whole life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I look them
Absolutely.
right in the eyes, man, until they're gone. And so when you do the euthanasia, there is, explain that process, if you don't mind, real
Yeah.
quick.
No, absolutely. So we the most important thing is just making sure that nobody ever feels rushed. When we come in, it's all about we are there for the pet, we are there for the family, and it's all on their timeline. Um, so we'll just have everybody kind of get used to our presence. We have some, paperwork confirming all aftercare wishes and that kind of thing. And then we give an injection of a heavy sedative and pain medication. And it's basically an injectable anesthetic. So the dog will go into a very deep sleep and become anesthetized within about 5 to 10 minutes. So that gives time for the family to just gather around the dog and they talk to them and they pet him and they love on him. And the dog just has that release of just like, just feel good and just relax. And I tell you, Bill, the number of people who tell me at that point, oh, it's been so long since we've seen him that comfortable.
Yeah,
And then they just really recognize, like, yeah, he'd been struggling for quite some time, and now just seeing just that release and how good he feels. um, once the dog is completely unaware of everything, then we give the final euthanasia injection, and then that causes them to pass within a minute or so.
and then you listen to the heart. I've done it so
Hmm.
many times, and it literally, I mean, you can see when the dog is there and when the dog, passes on.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you can.
I always send, what is that? Uh, what is the poem that I send? I send 2 poems. The first one's The Last Battle. You ever heard of The Last Battle?
No, I have not heard of that one.
Oh my goodness. Um,
I'm gonna write this down.
yeah, The Last Battle, you gotta include it because it is so beautiful. But whenever people have, and we've talked about like it's time, and I'm like, okay, I'm fully there with you. I agree. I I'm there for you. and but I think you're making the right decision.
Mhm.
And what hold on. um and then I send them this, right? And it says, so for the last battle, euthanasia poem, it's I'm trying to get this out, or trying to get this where it will just go into its own little. Here, I'll find another one. Last battle. Well, I'll just say it. If it should be that I grow frail and weak, and pain should keep me from my sleep, then will you do what must be done? For this, the last battle, can't be won. You will be sad, I understand, but don't let grief stay your hand. For on this day, more than rest, your love and friendship must stand the test. We have had so many happy years, you wouldn't want me to suffer so. When the time comes, please let me go. Take me to where my needs they'll tend. Only stay with me till the end, and hold me firm and speak to me until my eyes no longer see. I know in time you will agree, it is a kindness you do for me. Although my tail its last has waved, from pain and suffering I have been saved. Don't grieve that it must be you who has to decide things to do. We've
I
been
know,
so
like,
close.
Bill, stop.
We've been so close these two, we two these years, and don't let your heart hold any tears. And that's it, and I send that every time. Yeah. It's
Ugh,
but what a beautiful, and it's like basically that's it. It's like,
it is.
I just lost my friend, my retired police or service dog. Yeah. Only 11 and a half.
Oh,
Yeah. But and then, so that's what I send before, right? To just kind of, I don't know. I read that once, and I warned them too. I'm like, man, I'm sorry. like I said, I'm like, I'm sorry, but you guys you gotta hear this. And then the last one is Rudyard Kipling, um, the dog. Oh, geez, I can't even think of the poem right now. But Rudyard Kipling, who should own a dog? Dog poem. Let me see. But I mean, the power of the dog. The power of the dog. Rudyard Kipling. Um, Yeah, it's based, and this one was written in 1865, or no, this one was written in early 20th century, early 1900s,
oh, wow.
and it's just basically it's like there's sorrow enough in each day that when we are certain of sorrow in store, why we always arrange for more, brothers and sisters. I
Mm,
did you beware of giving your heart to a dog to tear, and it's just it's an old poem, but it's worth it. I think that, and that's what I say, Doc, is like when I said it sucks so bad, it hurts so, but this
mhm.
is love. This is the price of love.
It is.
And in The Hobbit, I don't think in the book itself, I don't remember reading this part, but in the movie, The Hobbit, do you ever watch those Lord of the Rings?
No, I have
Oh,
not.
you should. But it talks about these two fall in love, and he is slain in a fight, and then she comes and stumbles upon his body, and she says, "If this is love, I do not want it. Take it from me, because it was so painful." Right, and that is the cost of love, and that's what you see. um, but it's also, and it hurts so bad, and it
Mhm.
sucks, and I can't even tell you how many times I'm like, I'm never getting another,
I know.
I'm never getting another dog. But the love that we have for dogs is worth the pain that we endure when we say goodbye, because guess what? I got more dogs, and I'll have more.
Exactly.
You know.
I had a client tell me once, they said the pain now is worth the happiness then.
Oh,
And it's very true. You wouldn't trade all those years for this intense pain that you're feeling. And it does suck. It's awful. It is so hard. Um, but you choose that, right? Like you choose that hard because it's so worth everything that you shared with this dog, right?
Yeah. Now, what about behavioral euthanasias? I know like it's a very small, I could count probably on one hand, maybe 6 cases on 2 hands, where I have recommended behavioral euthanasia. Is that something that you do as well?
We are very, very select with what we will do. And we assess, obviously we assess the situation, and then we ask for veterinary records and trainer
Okay.
records, because people will say, like, my vet told me I need to euthanize my dog, and we'll say, all right, well, let's review your vet records before we make any decision. And then, there's nothing in there about it. Or on the flip side, the vet says, yes, we've tried this, they've done this training, this, euthanasia really is the best thing for this dog and for this family. So my heart breaks for people who have to deal with behavioral euthanasias, because that's so hard. Like, that is just a really bad position for anybody to be in.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that it's the right thing. The right thing for us doesn't sound right, but I've always told people, like, I'm the one who has to sleep with my brain at night, and I have to feel good about every single pet who I help. And if I don't feel like a pet should be euthanized for whatever reason, I cannot do that.
Good nature. Yeah.
And I've had situations, it was more early on, where I don't know what families' situations were, but felt very misled about the reason for euthanasia, and then walk into a home and see something completely opposite to what I was told. And I have declined services and have left the home because I did not feel good about doing the euthanasia.
Good for you. And thousands of dogs. I mean, it's a very small, not even 1% of the dogs that I've ever recommended that to, and it was number of opinions that were
Right.
and it was people getting hurt, and it was a liability, and so there's a lot of factors to be considered, but it's, and I could probably name them all 6 too, honestly, to
Right.
because that's how, you know,
Yeah.
that's how they stick with you, and you're just like, man, I
Well,
mean,
and it's important, like, you as a trainer and your expertise. It's like, I'm sure you've seen some dogs who haven't been the best trained dogs, but like, your expertise can really dig into that. And then seeing animals that, just for whatever reason, like, they're just their neuro connections are just miswired or
yep,
whatever, and just being able to assess, to say, like, this dog, like, this isn't a training issue, like, this is a dog who is just broken issue, and there's nothing that we can do, and it is a liability.
yep, and now I'm involved with the liability, and so I have to sign off, and just like you said, I said, like, there's a wire crossed or something. This is
Yeah.
not typical of what we see, and even in management situations where we have dogs that are absolutely gonna be in management, we have a protocol of back ties, barriers, boundaries,
Right.
and how we meet people, and if the people are okay with it, it's their dog,
Right.
then, and muzzling
Mhm.
and all that stuff, where I train the dog with muzzle conditioning, and they're surprised a lot of times when I'm like, "Yeah, that muzzle needs to stay on for the next year."
Yeah.
Right? We just had a conversation with another trainer where we were talking about expectations here, and I owe my clients the truth. Um, but it is sometimes where I'm like, "Yeah, this I can't help you anymore. In fact, I don't know if anybody else can. Let me and having a good network of trainers that I can pull into the fold and either show them videos, or if they're local, have them meet the dog or the client. And there's a lot that goes into that decision. And but it's also, I see too that a lot of trainers, they make up for their lack of knowledge with destroying the dog, and I can't stand that stuff. There's
Uh,
yeah, there's a big and so it's good that you do a due diligence of um, keeping things in the proper scope, right?
yes,
To ensure that you can live with yourself. And
exactly.
and there's sometimes, I mean, I mean, I know you compartmentalize, and I do too. And I hardly work with the rescues anymore because I just don't have the emotional bandwidth.
Hmm.
But I love working with people when the dog has a home. But I was working with a lot of really severe neglect cases
Hmm.
where you have to nurse the dog back to health, then train them. And most of them had very happy endings, and we're
Hmm.
very thankful. But some of them were special cases. And actually, tomorrow I'm doing one of these live streams with 3 rescues. Um, and we're going to be talking about some shenanigans that
Oh,
happen in the rescue world, right? So, and some of the philosophies that they adhere to that don't necessarily hold water when it comes to working with dogs, and especially rescue dogs. And um, but I still I've made boundaries. I don't work with certain organizations because of
mhm.
this. Do you So let me get back into your brain a little bit. Do you take like vacations?
Yeah.
Do you take long walks with your dogs? Like, is
I'm
there a protocol for your
getting,
staff as well? Like,
yeah,
how do we keep
that's
the morale up, and how do we, because this is such a heavy thing that I can imagine.
it is. And I think, one thing that we've tried to really foster over the years is for everybody to focus on self-care and for everybody to have boundaries, and for us as the management to respect those boundaries, right? Like, I think that is your time off is your time off. We're not going to bug you. What are you doing to decompress with everything? It is really important. And like our care coordinator team, um, they're the ones who answer the phones. You spoke with Christine a few weeks ago.
Tell her
um,
hi for me if you don't
I
mind.
know, she's so great. They are so fantastic, and they're kind of like they're the front lines. Like, they're talking to the people who, are making these really hard phone calls, and like
Mm,
it's talking to those emotional people like right off the bat. And then, like, as the person who's calling, like, this was years ago, one of my kitty cats was really sick, and I did some blood work and her kidneys were off the chart, and I thought, I'm going to hospitalize her for a night at one of the local specialty clinics, and they can do fluids. And I called and I'm like, hey, it's Dr. Sarah with Compassion for Paws. I'm calling about my own cat. Like, just getting those words out in the universe for people is so hard. So for being on the receiving end of that and hearing those people being so brave and making those first steps, that it's absolutely a concern. And I think we've done a good job at just helping everybody being able to navigate that.
do you is there a type of, how would I word this? Is there a type of rhetorical um, lessons that you teach your staff, or like we I mean, I've experienced it myself, and they're just so awesome, and maybe they're just naturally like that. But is what do you tell somebody that's new, that's coming in and maybe taking these calls for the first time? What are some bits of advice that you give them?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think one of the biggest things, and this is for all of our team who interacts with people or interacts with the families is to just let them talk and just just be there for them and just be there and listen to them. And I think with the care coordinators, they do such a great job with just, asking a question and then sitting back and just letting them talk. And people will start telling funny stories about their dog or, these cute things, and just really uh, listening to them and making sure that the client knows that they are heard.
Yeah. And I'm sure you do the same when you go to the house, because I know I would tell I knew how old my dog was when I got a puppy, and I saw the old dog in the field running with the puppy, and the puppy's like running,
Oh,
zipping all around my old dog's
yeah,
like running, but really just walking, but
yeah,
he
right,
was like, like in
right,
his mind, I'm sure he was running, but I was just like, oh man, you are old,
yeah,
and you hear those stories and can reflect. And I think that that's cathartic as well. And another thing that you guys do, which I think is super cool, and I do this with my clients, is I do the paw prints, and you also provide bits of memorabilia,
we
and you
do.
have on your compassionforpaws.com, and I'll put up a link in the comments down below. So you have an eco urn, um, a linen bag. Look at all this stuff, and then you also have all the urns.
Yeah, if people want some specialty urns or items, we try really hard to stick with um, unique items, locally crafted items. Like our cedar boxes are made by a woodworker out of Anacortes, and those ceramic urns are designed by. These are all local places. I know
Yeah,
your
yeah.
audience isn't necessarily Seattle area. The ceramic urns are made by artisan down on Queen Anne. So we try real hard to support more of the local options.
Beautiful. And then tell me about, so we're done, and we've said goodbye, and the family's ready to let go. And I haven't I've heard this a couple times, but I want to know the process. When I think of cremation, of course, I think of a crematory, and I think of
Mhm,
flames, and I think that
mhm.
of burning, but you offer something different.
We do. So we offer water cremation, or aquamation, or alkaline hydrolysis is the other name for it.
Okay.
And basically, what it is it's a combination of warm water and alkaline salts and thyme, and that basically does what Mother Nature does to a body that has been buried in the ground. So, taking like lye salts and sprinkling them on bodies to help with decomposition. We're kind of doing the same thing, but it's speeding up the cremation process. We are left with the bones. So just like flame cremation, you're left with the bones and the remains. It's the same with the water cremation. We actually end up with 20 to 30% more remains than with flame cremation.
No kidding.
Yeah, because with flame cremation, there's some that gets lost to the emissions and the exhaust, and um, we're able to contain the bones better, and so we end up with more remains. And the other thing that's just fascinating about it is that it's a very gentle process. Like we had when we started doing the aquamation, oh my gosh, I guess 3 years ago now. But we had a little dog that we cremated, and one of our aftercare team members brought this thing back to me, and he said, I found this. Like, do you know what this is? And I'm like, I have no idea. It was this little plastic disc thing, but it was rubber. And so I asked the doctor who did the euthanasia, and I said, "We found this. Like, do you have any idea?" And she's like, "Yes." It was like a 3-pound Yorkie who had cataract surgery, and it was a lens from the cataract surgery, and
No kidding.
stayed through the whole process. So it really it's a fascinating process, and it's gentle. It's much more environmentally friendly than flame cremation.
So you
Um,
see on the
uh,
left is a cremation and the aqua and it almost looks like a fine like a super fine powder? Is that what's
it
left over?
is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you're saving so you're not putting out, gases into the environment, the greenhouse gases, and,
Correct.
are you do you just discard of the water? Do you,
No,
filter it and
so what's interesting about that water, it's neutral. Like it's all there's no DNA in it, there's no chemicals in it. I mean,
hmm,
you think about, euthanizing pets, and we have medications and, pentobarbital for the euthanasia solution, or we have a lot of dogs who have had chemotherapy. All of that is rendered neutral, and there's no DNA, there's no proteins, but it's actually considered to be like a biostimulant. So not a fertilizer, because I think there's differences between like what a true fertilizer is, what a biostimulant is. But there has been research into using the effluent in agricultural uh,
hmm.
purposes, which is kind of interesting. Um, and we don't do that, but there are potentially some options for that effluent, and ours. We're piped into the water system, and so it goes through our municipal water plant.
How long so I assume we take the dog and we put it into is it like is I'm trying to think, it's not like a pressure I mean, is it? Is it
No,
like a is it a
no.
cylinder or what is it? What do you
It's a big tank,
okay,
and what's interesting is that it's also becoming a thing in humans, to have aquamation,
I think I want
and,
it after
uh,
hearing it.
Bishop Desmond Tutu, when he passed away a few years ago, he was aquamated,
Okay,
which is kind of interesting. But the human ones, there is pressure involved in that,
okay.
I think because of time. Like our process takes some time, so we are not operating under pressure. But I think the human versions are are pressurized.
How long does it take before you, put the dog in there to where you actually have the finished ashes?
It takes the actual cremation part, that takes about 20 hours. And
Oh,
then what we do is, we take the remains, and we, take the little bony fragments, and we need to dry them out. So then it takes about 24 to 48 hours to dry out the bones, and then we process them into that fine powder that you see. So depending on the size of the pet really kind of dictates how long it takes to dry the remains. But if we were to just be going, right from start to finish, probably 4 days or so.
okay. And then you also have I mean, if a dog has, like you were saying with the cataract with the Yorkie, is there any other, like, joint replacements that we do in dogs? I'm not sure. Do you ever
Yeah, ACLs, so like the torn cruciate ligament, we get a lot of hardware. So a lot of steel implants, will make it through. So we always ask families, like, if they don't mention anything at the appointment with the doctor and we come across some surgical implants, we'll say, "Hey, we found, two TPLO plates, with George. Would you like them back?" And some people want them back. Like they get really excited to have the implants back.
Yeah,
So,
I would.
um, but yeah, and we'll find microchips, and we'll have the other thing that's so lovely about the water cremation is that, because it's so gentle, like people will bring flowers to have cremated with their pets, and
Oh,
the
man.
flowers will actually make it through the cremation cycle. The petals don't look so pretty, but the body of the flower makes it through, or they'll write letters to their pets, and we'll put those in, and then those come out afterwards. So it's nice being able to facilitate those connections for people and just really make that extra special.
How
Uh,
did you find the water? Did you just were you at a show that you do or
yeah, and
okay,
just hearing about it through the community. I mean, I
okay.
think for end of life practitioners, it's becoming more prevalent, but we've always been a very small, tight community. So, hearing about some things and then learning more and then going down that road. And the other thing, I'll tell you one more story. You're getting me all chatty now. The other thing
Good.
so that's just so wonderful about being able to do this. I had last year went to go help a young couple with their little tiny dog, and the woman was telling me how you hear so much personal stuff from families, and she
Yeah.
was talking about how she was homeless for a while and how her dog got her through this, like, being through some really intense situations. And she said that her dog had a kink in her tail, and if we could save the kink and kind of keep that separate from the rest of the ashes. And I said, well, a lot of times dogs kinks, like it's more like the space between the vertebrae. And she's like, no, this is a bone that is kinked. And I said, okay, we're gonna do our best. And we were able to get that one little vertebrae that was like shaped like an L, and it was a kink from her little tiny dog's tail. And we were able to find that and preserve it, and give that to her with the ashes.
How cool. How long has water cremation been around? Was it around when you first started your practice
It
or
was. It's been
okay,
around, oh, I don't even wanna guess, but it's been around for quite some time.
okay. I just
But I
heard about
think
it.
yeah, but I think and I think too in Western Washington, we're a little bit more crunchy out here than
Hippy
maybe some
dippy.
other places, yeah. So so I think it's also, but it's accepted well in our
Yeah,
community.
earth conscious,
Exactly.
hippy dippy, crunchy people.
Yep,
We have a comment
exactly.
here from Heather, wonderful dog trainer. She says, "I commend you, Dr. Sarah. I couldn't imagine putting my lost dog down without a compassionate vet like you. We instead had a wonderful vet come to us, and we did it under a beautiful shady tree in our own backyard." Oh, and I got to meet the dog too
Yeah.
right before. So, and it made such a challenging situation the best it could be.
Aw.
Yeah, I had the dog from high school throughout college and my wedding. He was there for all of it.
Oh, Heather.
Yeah,
And that's so hard, right? Like when we have our pets and they're associated with all of these really big life events. And it just, I think it makes their lives are so meaningful. And then it just kind of, notches it up a little bit more when we do have them associated with such big events in our personal lives.
yeah, and, I just had all the kids come home from college and, Cappy, and I think that you were the doctor, I'm pretty sure, and they were like, "This is the only dog I've ever
Yeah.
known," and that's why I say, you know what, have the kids there, don't do this in the darkness. This is something that in our culture, especially, we need to confront death. Um, we need to see it, and a lot of times it's beautiful. I mean,
Yes.
like you said earlier, when the dog is laying there and the people are like, I can't remember last time I've seen him this relaxed, and you feel the weight. I felt it myself, like, okay, cool, buddy, I know, and I had a talk, so I'm hip. We'll go down the hippy dippy route every time. I have a conversation with my dogs, and I say two things to them. The first thing I say to them is, "I love you so much that," and look at my screen does these little things. "I love you so much, and I appreciate my time with you on this earthly existence that you have shared with me, and I'm so honored. And when my time is done here, if you would consent to it, I would like to merge energetically with you or spiritually or whatever it is when I go to the other side, so that we may be part of each other forever, not just this existence here on this time on earth." And but I'm always like, if you consent to that, like if this is
Yeah.
something that you want as well, then absolutely. But if you don't want it, then I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do is I tell them, tell me. I say, please tell me when you're ready.
Mhm.
And I remember one time I was with my dog, and we had an appointment for like a couple weeks, and he told me he was ready, and I went out and I was bawling in my field calling the vet out here, and um, because he said he was ready. And
Mhm.
another one of my other dogs, he was 17,
Wow.
my most recent one, and he had a seizure, and he came through it, and he was okay after a little while. But during that time, right after that seizure, he just looked at me and he told me,
Yeah.
and I made that appointment, and so that's what I asked my dogs to tell me when they're ready. I give my clients, there are some forms. I don't think it's on the comfort care evaluation or the intake form itself, but there are some forms which give like the quality of life scale,
Mhm.
where they'll circle the number and then add up down on the bottom of like, where are we at as far as considering euthanasia? And so
Mhm.
I'll hand those out.
Those
Um,
are great. We have some of those on our website as
oh, you
well.
do? Okay.
Mhm. Under resources.
Okay. Let me see. Oh yeah, pet resource. Maybe it is yours. Let me see. Facts and resources. Pet loss. No, is it? I don't. Oh, Pet Library.
No, let me
I
look
don't
here.
know. Pet loss and grief support, comfort care, online resources. Here, I could share this too.
That
Um,
should be.
pet resources. Sorry, I'm all looking all over, but it's
Well,
important
no,
because
I'm
I
like,
want to see
I should know that, yeah.
facts and resources. How much are your services? When? Oh, how will I know what time you? Maybe it's on. Nope.
That's it. How will I know? Oh, assessing quality of life under online resources.
Okay, pet resources, online resources.
The Ohio State
Oh, assessing.
University one is a good one.
How will we know? Oh yeah, the 360 scale. No, which one is it? This
The one
one.
underneath that.
How will I know? This one is like an article, is it? This one looks like an
There is.
article.
And then if you keep scrolling through it, there is a
Oh, right there it
sliding
is.
quality of life,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I don't think I'm sharing this.
I think a lot of people, you may have looked at it's called the HHHHMM scale, the scale, by Dr. Alice Villalobos, and she's an oncologist who developed this scale many years ago. And there's like 7 categories, and you give number from like 0 to 10 for these 7 categories, and then a score of 35 or less is no longer considered a good quality of life. And I think it's really fantastic for some big things. I like the Ohio State scale because it's a little bit more granular.
I like
Um,
this too.
so and with the other one, like I always tell people, the most important things, in my opinion, are like good days versus bad days.
Hmm.
Is the dog having more good days or more bad days, or good moments or bad moments? A lot of people will say, well, he's still eating. And it's like, that's fantastic. Now, if he wasn't still eating, is he having more good times or bad times? When eating is just such a small part of the dog's life. I mean, it can mean a lot for some dogs, but what other things bring joy? What other things make the dog happy? Those are things that we really need to look at.
Yeah, people have said to me so many times, I'll know when it's time when they stop eating.
Do not say that. I say if you have a lab or if you have a beagle, they will never stop eating, and I think that is really hard for people because we put so much value into eating and food. And, I think also as a veterinary profession, like 20 years ago, we would say, well, once they stop eating, bring them in and we'll put them down for you. And it's like, no, like there is so much more than that. And so that's why I tell people, like, take eating off the table and look at everything else. Are they comfortable? Are they restless? Do they still want to be with you? Are they hiding off in a closet? Or not wanting to be around the family? Are they not getting up to greet you when you come home? So those are things that really, I think, give the dog happiness.
Losing weight, right? Skin and bones. We call it old dog body, right? Sleeping all the time, right? That's another one. Unable to keep self clean, right?
Right.
That's another one. My girl is, and we're already having the conversation with Dawn, my wife, about Yaya, and she's a heart dog, and we talked about heart
Oh,
dogs. Cedar. What was your cattle dog's name?
Tilly, my Tilly
Cedar and
girl.
Tilly.
Mhm.
Hopefully they're running around in heaven
Yeah,
together. They'll be like, hey.
yeah.
But there's just certain dogs, and this is one of my heart dogs. But she walks up the stairs in the morning, especially, and uh, she will audibly whine. And
Mhm,
so then we tried a ramp, and she audibly winds up the ramp, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to be carrying you for now,
mhm.
and then mitigating this pain, but I don't want you to suffer, and I don't want this to be um, to overtake. I don't want to think about it, but I also know, like,
Mhm.
I've woken up in the middle of the night with her screeching and kicking over a trash can, and then I'm picking her up and holding her, and then her defecating all over because of the pain, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, man, I'm so sorry this is happening to you, and I will fix it someday, but it's just going to be that day that it's just going to be a very heavy day for me. But it's already starting to come into my into evaluating, like, look, every day I'm looking at you. Is it a good day?
Mhm.
Is it a bad day? Luckily, the good days are still outnumbering the bad, but we also are mitigating it with comfort care, um,
Great.
and then also meeting with our veterinarian too, to look at the dosage and the type of medications that she's on, and seeing if we need to evaluate that by bringing the dosage up, and if I need to, then I will,
Perfect.
even if there are even if there are side effects. um,
Mhm.
it's worth dosing her a little bit more. Now, side effects too, and this is something that I did want to talk to you about, because I've had a couple experiences where we gave the dog the initial shot, and it looked like it didn't interact with them well at all.
Mhm.
One of them was a Saint Bernard, and he just started doing this crazy thing
Mhm.
with his head, and I was just like, "Oh
Mhm.
my goodness." And another
Mhm.
thing that happened, was when we actually went to euthanize, the dog was definitely out. The dog whimpered, um, when we pushed the euthanol or the actual, euthanasia drug. And so what do you how do you what do you do in situations like that where things kinda go wrong, doc?
That is so hard. And, I mean, we've helped thousands of pets over the years, like thousands and thousands. And with that, we have really worked hard to fine tune all of our medication doses. So like when you're talking about looking at the tennis match, that's from some of the dissociative medications that are used. So now we
Okay,
use another medication, like our first sedative. It's actually a combination of four different drugs. We added one in to kind of help, so that dogs don't have the looking at the tennis match. Um, every Despite that, every once in a while we will get a dog who does that. And I think there we can fine tune doses and medications to be perfect for 99% of the dogs. And then you have like one outlier who the anesthesia reacts differently in their brain, or the chemical difference, or whatever. um, the big thing, what I do is really try to uh, explain what is going on. So, like the dog who is doing that, like I said, it's because of a dissociative anesthetic. So that dog's not with it. I mean, it looks like they're with it, but that medication is working and they are dissociating from reality. That's what a dissociative drug does. So it's not like the dog is in distress. It's certainly not great for the family to be looking at. But from the dog's perspective, they're not suffering. They're not in any sort of distress. They're, levitating away from their body, dissociating from reality. Uh, so in situations like that, I usually give a little bit more medication to
okay.
try to get them over that hump. Um,
Yeah. Well, and then
Sometimes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, no, and then is it, when he was whimpering too, I mean, obviously he was out of it, I mean, he was but it was
Right.
something that, I just had a question about, and I think about that stuff, and I'm sure that it stays with you because it
Mhm.
stays with me as well. Um, do you think that it burned when he or I don't even was it just a
No,
reaction that he had?
it could have just been a reaction. I mean, if he was out of it, I wouldn't think that he would be feeling anything. Sometimes I think they're panting, like they can almost have like some panting at the end as well as they're going through from the anesthesia into death. Sometimes there can be some breathing changes. I wonder if it could have been associated with that at all.
Or just affecting his vocal cords? He was laying on his
Yeah.
side and, but that's I definitely
Yeah.
wanted to I just wanted us to mention that because I mean, even though, 99% of them, there's still that 1%. And as a redhead, do you know what's crazy? Is that drug interactions with redheads are
Mhm.
are they don't perform in me, like, for instance, I'll take NyQuil to stay up, I'll take DayQuil to
Yeah.
go to sleep,
Oh,
like,
there.
it's and then, when I go to the dentist, they always give me, like, 3 times the amount of Novocaine, um, and they just tell me that redheads are feel pain differently, and I think that just like I'm a different breed of human,
Mhm.
I guess, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but that's
yeah.
what I've always assumed it was, is like there's just a chemical makeup that is interacting differently than the majority of dogs.
Yeah, and it is, I think it is so hard. Or, every once in a while you give the first injection, and most animals don't react at all, or you get an animal who does react. I don't know if you hit a nerve the right way or whatever. And it's so sad because it's like we want nothing more than for this to be the beautiful goodbye that we can give. And like I said, like we could do hundreds of these, but for this family, that's their only one, right? So just really, and even if things don't go exactly like we want them to, um, just being there for the people and empathizing. And I didn't expect that he would react that way, and I'm so sorry, and this is what we're going to do differently.
Yeah.
We want it to be as good as it can be for what it is.
Well, good. And then I have these supplements here, so I wanted to mention those, and then I wanted to talk about the. So we're in Seattle, you guys, but if you're watching this, like Heather's in Portland, we have people actually all over the world. And does your association, is it international or is it just America?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there's a organization called the International Association for Animal Hospice and Palliative Care. It's quite the handle. It's IAAHPC.org. And they are a group. They've been around for
do that again.
IAAHPC.org.
Okay.
And they've been around for about 15 years now, I think. And so it's, like I said, it's still a very, very young field. But the organization works to support veterinary professionals, so veterinarians and vet techs, also social workers, other professionals, families, pet loving community. And it is an international group. We actually have a certification to become certified in hospice and palliative care as a veterinarian or a veterinary technician. I was on the board of directors for this group for 6 years before I had to rotate off. And it's a wonderful resource for families, for other professionals. There should be some resources on there for looking for local members if you're wanting to find somebody in your area that can offer these services. Yeah, so 2009. Yeah.
Okay, mission articulated in Illinois. Well, and we also, I was telling you about the ICP, which is the International Association of Canine Professionals.
Yes.
And then I will, I'm going to invite you or tell them we need to have you on as a speaker one of these years at our conference in this year. It's in California. Last year it was in Savannah, Georgia. But I think that this is something that we need to have to help our clients with their dogs. And I really think that there is such thing as a good death.
Yes, absolutely. That's what euthanasia is. It's Greek for good death.
Is it really? Euthanasia, mm-hmm. Greek for good death. And do you know what? And I'm Catholic, and after I euthanized a dog, I went into confession, and I was like, is this a sin? And the priest was like, no, that's actually that is actually a good deed. Mm-hmm. It's not a sin at all. In fact, you have looked for the betterment of your dog, of your canine friend, and I want to commend you. That's something that you should not be confessing. And I'm like, good. But I think that because it made me feel so bad, that I was like, I got to bring this to God. I got to, just talk to it. But yeah, if now there is a different feeling as far as human euthanasia, but we don't need to get into that. Mm-hmm. In the Catholic Church and the views of that because of the God's plan. But yeah, that's there is such a thing as a good death. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. I think that we owe it to our beloved animals to provide them with that. Yes. This is, where is the website? So this right here is Active Power, and this is so they have the dog supplement, activepower.com without the I'll set up a link into it. But
Oh,
I
great.
tell you, dog, they have, this is for the dogs. They have this Octo band, which is like these weighted bands that you put coins in them.
Oh,
And then they have this Ayurvedic, you know what, like Dragon Balm or
mhm.
Bengay,
Yeah.
right? And so they have that as well. That is, it smells like the Dragon Balm stuff.
Oh,
Um,
that's
a-
cool.
and then they also have, oh wait, you can't see this. Share this out. This is it right here.
Oh, there we go.
So there, yep. And then they have it for humans as well. And we take the Zeus, and I don't get paid at all for it, but I love it. It's something that I highly recommend. And I've seen my dogs that have had joint issues. We're talking about the palliative or the comfort care. This is a supplement that you might want to consider. And
That's great.
I'll actually see if I can send you a couple of those too, just so you can check them out. I like the smell of them. They have like cinnamon, and it's
Mm.
Ayurvedic medicine. And your website, Compassion for Paws. And if you're local here, if you need anything pertaining to end of life care, and then we also have the IHA or IAHPC, and then of course the ICP that I was talking
That's
about.
great.
Is there anything that we did not touch on, Doctor, that
No,
you would like to?
I think we touched on most of it. I could talk for days on this. So I have
Yeah.
very much appreciated the opportunity to talk about this.
Well, I love what you do. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes,
And
me too.
sometimes my clients have invited me to be there with their dogs, and I will absolutely take up them on the opportunity.
Oh,
Um, and I just want to, commend you. And now you said you have a center, or is
mhm,
that mostly online, or do you have
mhm.
a
We
facility?
have we have a facility,
Where's
so
that
where
at?
we it's in Mount Lake Terrace.
Okay.
So it's where we do our water cremation, but in the front we have a beautiful lobby, and we have all of our memorial items and urns if people want to see, and we also have a little comfort room. So sometimes we'll have families who need to euthanize their pet, but they don't want us to come into the home, or maybe they live out of our service area. And so they will bring the pet to us. So it's not like a vet clinic, like there's no other dogs barking and carrying on or anything like that. It's kind of set up like a living room, and a little video on our website. And it's set up like a living room, and it's really comfortable. And people can bring their pets here if they would like.
Okay. Oh, cool, man. How cool is that? Well, I appreciate your time today. I know that you're a little short-staffed with the doc just retiring, and I just appreciate you. I appreciate your staff. I appreciate what you do, and thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate chatting with you. And I feel the same way about you with training, because I have two very ill-behaved dogs at home. So I very much appreciate the training as well.
Well, I'm not too far from you in Edmonds,
Yeah,
and I'm always there in Edmonds, Woodway. I have a lot of clients in Woodway there. So reach out to
I,
me
I
anytime
should
if you want to get
I should
together,
take
okay?
you. I should take you up on that for sure.
Well, let's say goodbye to everybody here, and then I'll say goodbye to you, Sarah, in the studio, okay?
Great. Thank you so much, Bill, and thanks everybody for stopping by.
Bye, everybody.